Hel- Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for a new offering. And as you can see, I haven't quite caught up with all of my banners and social media yet, but we are presenting on the first, second, and third Fridays of every month. And I think fairly soon, maybe in the new year, we will be going to all 4 Fridays in the month. And we plan to be bringing on other guests who have background in different aspects dealing with loss, with elders, with chronic illness, and other subjects like that, which we thought were important to touch on. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about that ahead of time. And today we have a new presenter, someone who has been part of Blue Sky Friends from the very beginning in March of this year, when Geshe Michael asked us to start this project. And that's Anjali Nicole. And I've known Anjali for many, many years. She's going to be talking to us and teaching us about working with loss and with grief and helping ourselves and helping others, giving us tools of how to work with that. And grief in areas of all of our life, from the loss of, say, maybe just a pet or the changing of a job or a home to bigger losses. So loss is the same, whether it's small or large. And she's had a lot of experience with loss and grief and has been working in this area for many years. So Anjali is going to be sharing that with us on her classes that she's putting together for us on the second Friday of every month. And so all of these classes will be consistent. I'll be the first Friday, Anjali the second Friday, and Ellie the third Friday. And with that introduction, I'd like to invite you to please spotlight Anjali Nicole, and I will hand the class over to her. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And so grateful to be here and have this opportunity to share with the community. Um, so first I'm going to share my screen and get us started with the slide presentation. So let me do that now.
Also, if there's anything I missed that when I introduced you that you want
Oh,
to
don't
share,
worry, don't
would
worry.
you do that?
Absolutely. No, no, that's part of the whole presentation.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure that yeah, okay. I think I've got it to work out the tech stuff. Okay, so can you see the screen? Can
Yes.
everyone see that? All right. All right, great. So this is our uh, advertisement slide for this particular class, which is going to be a part of a series called Compassionately Embracing Grief, Navigating Loss with Kindness, Courage, and Care. And today's class is about learning how to care for others who are grieving. So first, I really would love to just welcome everybody from around the world. Thank you for the translators who are helping us to share this with people from many countries. Um, Huge thanks to Ellie and Gail for all their efforts in pulling this platform together. Um, it's truly remarkable how quickly things came together, even though we felt that we slogged along, but I think it really did come along very, very quickly to start putting things out to the community. And of course, thanks to Geshe Michael Roach for putting yet another initiative in place for taking care of people all over the world. So I just wanted to pay my respects there. Um, Gail introduced me as Anjali. Some of you may know me as Nicole. So I put my name Anjali Nicole together in case you uh, remembered me from way back when. Um, and so I just feel very honored to have been asked to serve Blue Sky Friends platform as a compassionate support services facilitator, offering group and personal grief support sessions to the community free of charge, as well as ongoing grief education, which we're doing here today. The supportive services that we're offering are intended to offer compassionate presence and an empathetic ear to help people feel heard and held as they move through their own life transitions and the accompanying grief. And as well to offer educational tools and insights that may be supportive to one's grief journey. Through my own experiences of losing close loved ones in a variety of ways over the years, as well as walking alongside others in times of their losses, I've cultivated a lot of empathy for those navigating profound life changes, and over time really developed an appreciation of the delicate balance that one needs to be able to care for and accompany somebody on their journey of grief and healing. So, although I've worked within my scope of practice as a personal transformation mentor, working with people from all walks of life to help them navigate significant life transitions and make their way from surviving back to thriving. I always, the caveat here is I am not a professional licensed counselor, and nor am I considered an expert in grief or trauma. But my experiences have guided me in a way where I've been able to explore. I've had a deep desire to explore these topics and make them skills that I can personally help others with. So all of this learning has now, in my own personal experience, is now coming to benefit others. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. So let's just do a very short grounding exercise. I like to do these in the beginning of these classes as tools, like a little toolbox that you can start to build for supporting yourself, the nervous system, your heart, your mind, your body. So I invite you to close your eyes and settle into your body. So you bring your mind into the center of your body, meaning you're withdrawing it from outside and bringing it to the inside. And then kind of like a flashlight, you can look down towards the bottom of your body. And you really direct your attention down to the sit bones and feel the connection of the sit bones wherever you're sitting. And let them root down into the earth. And almost feel a little bit of heaviness there, like a real grounded, heavy, nurturing feeling that's holding you just as you are in this moment. And then invite that little flashlight to look up now. When you see the crown of your head, and feel the crown of the head kind of lift, expand up, like you're making a nice long line from the tip of the sit bones all the way up through the crown of the head. And you're creating space inside your body with a straight spine. And then let that little flashlight kind of sit in the middle of your heart and feel that you're looking inside of your lungs, and start to breathe deep and fill your body with breath. And then turn your awareness as you're breathing, the fullness of your body, bringing an intention to this moment of why you're here. Each of us is motivated to be here today for some particular reason. Perhaps there was something that precipitated that on a deep personal level. Or perhaps you may simply have a strong curiosity about these ideas, these topics, and a desire to learn about how you can better help others when they are moving through life transitions. Whatever the case, it's good that you're here. And maybe consider how learning about grief and how to care for the grieving could potentially help you connect to your own humanity and cultivate greater compassion for yourself and others. And how learning just a few skills, maybe a few new things, will help you potentially be of support to others in times of great need. Let yourself complete this intention with 3 breaths. Nice long exhalations. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. So this series I don't know if this will go in exactly this way, but I might have part 1, part 2, depending on how far I get today in today's class. But the idea is to take us on a little journey where we explore different ways we can learn skills to help other people in need, including ourselves. So in this series, this class is about how to take care of others who are grieving. And then some of those skills will also be things that you would use to take care of yourself when you are grieving a loss. And then class 3 would be a little bit about how to care for others who are taking care of loved ones who are dying and supporting their anticipatory grief for the loss they are facing as they care for their loved one. And then number 4 is how to care for the dying and support their grief process while they are still alive and conscious. And Ellie did a wonderful class in class 1 talking about a little bit about that already. And that's a really great reference to go back to. In class 5, we'll explore in a very basic way how we can work with grief from a spiritual standpoint. And then what I'd like to invite, we are kind of putting some different topics out, but we'd love to hear from you the things that you would like to learn. And I think this is a sort of a growing process on both sides of the coin. Ideas that I came up with were topics such as understanding trauma, loss, grief, and the tools for supporting life transitions, called Compassionate Heart Support. Goes a little deeper than we'll do in this series, I think. And then another topic series would be how to create a living legacy for your beloved, and how to honor our loved ones who have died, such as in rituals and in celebrations of life. And then Pathway to Wholeness goes a bit deeper into this idea that you can use grief as a spiritual path and practice. And how can you transform your experience of grief into that? Something useful that can help others. So I think really when it comes down to exploring this topic of navigating loss with kindness, courage, and care, we have to find some common ground. And I think that if we look at our human experience and the human condition, we all are the same in many, many ways. We all have a desire to be happy and to be free of pain. We all have problems and difficult experiences. We all want to have the things we need to live: enough to eat, safe place to sleep, enough money. We want good health care. nice relationships, friends, a purpose. We all have to sleep and eat and drink and poopy and pee-pee. We all need help when we're ill. And we need many other things for our lives to keep going. And of course, we all know, and which is part of the reason we're here, we all have to die. All people will have problems and they'll get sick, age, and will die. So developing a feeling, if we can, from this shared human experience, a feeling of equanimity is essential for developing a feeling of empathy and connection with others who share our common human condition. And that becomes the beginning step of how we can develop active compassion for those around us who experience misfortunes of loss. Now, there are ways in which we are different. That's what makes the world so interesting. There are different belief systems, cultures, ways of life. There are differences in how cultures, people, and whole countries address trauma, loss, death, and grief. I am not trained in specifically in all of these different kinds of cultural nuances, but it is an extremely beautiful thing to be curious and to show care and respect for how people approach death, dying, loss, and grief in their particular culture or religion. Ultimately, the most important thing in approaching those who have experienced loss and who are grieving is to acknowledge their experience, that something has happened to them which deserves acknowledgement, empathy, compassion, and care. So there's an importance of honoring individual experiences of loss and grief. Irrespective of culture or religion, every individual has their own experience of life transitions and loss. So depending on who they are, what their life story is, how they handle stress, and more, whatever the case, it is important to honor each individual's experiences of loss as a unique experience. There's no cookie cutter experience. Individuals may want or need different things, or not even know what they want and need in a given circumstance. This is why it is important, as someone supporting, to inquire and not guess or impose our ideas on what we think the person wants. Simply showing a person you care, that you wish to be supportive of them, and giving them the choice to accept, decline, or specify what help they would like is where we see empathy and compassion merge in action. Many of us are not trained in such things as grief and trauma, and often can feel helpless in what we feel we can do for our grieving loved ones. And that's okay. It is a wonderful act of compassion to move toward developing these kinds of skills now in anticipation of help that may be needed someday. By learning more about what we can do and how to go about helping those in this kind of need, we can empower ourselves not to feel so hopeless and helpless. I like to think of it as another important life skill that we can learn to help other people. So one of the biggest things we find with regard to grief is that death and impermanence of everything in our lives is rarely talked about. Yet we have little reminders of impermanence every single day all around us. And those losses often don't feel as heavy or as difficult as the big losses and changes. The very fact that loss happens is a part of human condition, and it deserves acknowledgement, empathy, and compassion when those things happen. From losing a job all the way up to losing a loved one. The death of our loved ones and our own death is coming. But part of us does not want to think about that and doesn't really believe it until we are actually faced with the reality of that happening in real time to someone we know or to ourselves. And since we don't think it will happen, we do not make efforts to prepare, as Gail shared last week or 2 weeks ago, or no, last week, about and she shared this in detail, about how important it is to prepare for the time of death. And so we know that death does and will happen, and it deserves proper acknowledgement, empathy, and compassion when it does. There are types of losses, and this list is not exhaustive. It covers most of the ground, but of the various kinds of losses people can experience. So the first category is palliative death, things such as cancers, terminal conditions like heart failure and kidney disease. These kind of palliative experiences can be swift, they can happen very quickly, or they can take a long time to occur. Sudden death is obviously much quicker. Things like natural causes, such as dying in one's sleep, unknown or known health issues that somebody might have, that a sudden heart condition can have someone die in a single instant. Illnesses such as pneumonia or anaphylactic responses, allergy responses, seizures. And then you have things like accidents, murders, suicides, overdose, and victims of war. And then we have a list of life transition experiences of loss, such as relationships, friendships, loss of home, health, family, community, mental faculties, independent living, not being able to take care of oneself anymore, the loss of a pet, the loss of one's country, culture, freedom. So a very sobering exercise is to make a list of everyone that you know that has died, how old they were, and what they died of. Usually, when I started this art exercise, I started it with the people that were close to me and then progressed to those I heard about or even famous people that I was very connected to with music. And before I made that list, there was a time I did not know anyone who had died. And the first person that I knew who died was my great-grandmother. She was very old, and I was very young, a little kid. And when I was told there was a funeral to go to, I actually got excited because I wanted to celebrate great-grandma. And then I was scolded. I was told that you're not supposed to be excited to go to funerals. And that was my first cultural experience around death. When someone dies, you must act subdued and not be happy about it. Now, I'm not saying we should be happy when someone we love dies, but there's a culture of shaming around death that needs to be looked at so that we can normalize our experience of death as a part of life. And then as I made my list, starting from that age, because I didn't start writing it till maybe, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, I realized, as I reflected back on all those years and how many losses occurred and different ways. I experienced a college friend who was murdered. I had a cousin who was 16 years old in a car accident. My grandparents, one by one, from heart failure or cancers. An aunt, people in my spiritual community, who it was said long ago when we were all studying together, there's going to be the first person in this room who was going to go. They're going to die first. And nobody in the room believed it on some level. And so there was the first one. And then there's been many since then. Close friends, peers, even teachers of mine and mentors. I've experienced the loss of a partner, sudden loss by a heart attack, a parent, my dad, in palliative care a year and a half ago, and the many, many others of people around me who lost parents and friends and family over the years, which was hard to watch. And I sometimes felt helpless at those times until I had my own experiences. Currently, I'm 55 years old, and in my 20s, I did not tune into the possibility of death touching my life so much because it was not a part of my lived reality to the degree it is now. So I deeply encourage everyone here and everyone who may listen to this later, take the time now to learn about these things and make it a wonderful investment of your time, as these are important skills that will come to help your friends and family and yourself as you go along in this life. So there's some key elements for how to approach people who have experienced misfortune with empathy and action, which essentially equals compassion. So many of us, we might not know where to start. I think one of the best ways to start when I hear somebody having a life transition or a loss is to do what I would call a sober assessment that leads me into a feeling of empathy. And then that feeling of empathy can then inspire action. Because if I don't make a connection or a feeling around another person's experience, I can't develop as much care for it. So many people don't know, and I didn't either, where to start or what to do when they hear someone lost a loved one or was diagnosed with cancer or had a terrible accident. It's a very sensitive time for the person or persons who are navigating that circumstance of loss or difficulty. So starting with a sobering moment to try to connect into the humanity of knowing about that person's present experience and approaching it with empathy and really getting a sense, and this is the sober part, getting a sense of, wow, that really could be me or anybody tomorrow. And it's a kind of an exchange of self and other in a way. And then this can lead us into that feeling of taking action. What can I do? What can I do? One of the first things that a person often needs is a support person. Sometimes it's very helpful for the grieving person to have one close support person to help navigate the initial shock of a situation and the possible influx of people reaching out to them. It's too overwhelming. The person may need space to process what has happened and may not wish to respond right away, if at all. It is important, very important, not to take this personally as the person reaching out. Acknowledging a person's circumstances is super important, though. So to acknowledge the person's experience by reaching out, to give them a call, and just share your heartfelt concern and care about the person's experience means a lot. This is better than ignoring their difficulty, their misfortune, and not reaching out at all. Just a little reach out is a good start. And the sensitivity of timing and inquiry. It's good to be sensitive also to the intensity of the person's experience. Let's say if it's a sudden loss. So that when we reach out, we can always have the first question, hi, is this a good time for you? And if they're open to connect at that time, perhaps say, I'm here for you. What would be the most supportive to you right now? So now we're going to explore ways to skillfully and compassionately care for someone who is grieving. The first one is offering presence without pressure. So when you visit this person who's grieving, it's nice to simply offer your presence, sit with them, without trying to fix anything, and allow silence to be a supportive space rather than something to fill the space. A person's presence for someone who's grieving can be very therapeutic if it is welcomed. You don't have to have the answers, just simply be there. Calm, grounded, unrushed. And this gives a co-regulative softening and grounding to the other person's nervous system. Oftentimes, it's co-regulation is something that happens between you and another person. You connect and something settles. Oftentimes that can happen. Sometimes it doesn't always go that way, and you have to pay attention. But it generally can give the nervous system of the grieving person a safe anchor, especially if you're a trusted friend. Presence, though, is not passive only. It is an active form of care that communicates that you are not alone and I can sit with you exactly as you are. So never pressuring the person to do anything more than they can do in the moment. It's really being there for them. Number 2, listening deeply. So listen to understand them, not just to respond or say something to fill in the gaps. Let their story unfold at their pace and let them tell it. When they tell their story, then you can share and validate their emotional reality. Wow, that sounds incredibly hard. Deep listening means listening without interrupting, without interpreting, or preparing your response. It's listening with curiosity and humility and compassion. The goal is not to fix their pain, but to allow its expression. And this listening helps them feel seen and validated, which is one of the most healing elements in grief support. Number 3, acknowledge the loss directly. So I find this is very important in my work. Instead of saying something about, oh, your partner or your brother, or say their name. Using the name of the person or situation of the person who lost that person, it means a lot to them. It personalizes their experience, that their loved one matters, that you even know their name. And they say their name, right? Simple phrases like, I'm so sorry this happened, go a long way. It's very direct, and it's not a euphemism or bypassing. Oftentimes, people might avoid naming a person who died or even talk about the loss that occurred because it feels uncomfortable. But acknowledgement honors the importance of what was lost, and it means a lot to the one who's grieving. It helps the griever feel that their pain is recognized, not avoided, minimized, or tiptoed around. Number 4, following their lead. So let this person who's really struggling or in the trenches or not, wherever they are in this process, let them guide the conversation. And if they want to talk, you're there. And if they want to be quiet, you stay quiet with them. This is a really beautiful thing because moment to moment, grief can change on a dime. One minute there's anger, another minute there can be depression, sadness. Another minute, kind of a calm in the midst of the storm. So grief is not linear. One moment they might want to talk intensely. The next they might want to withdraw and be quiet and shift subjects. So following their lead really means respecting their internal rhythm and preventing overwhelm in them. Really being accommodating to that is very, very compassionate action. And it also gives them agency during a time when so much feels out of control. So it's really being very, very open and allowing and just receptive and attentive to what's needed in the moment. Number 5, attend to the body and nervous system. So with grieving people, there are physiological changes, there are changes that happen in the brain and the body. And there's a lot of things you can do to support the grieving in various ways. So encouraging grounding practices, like a little bit what we did in the beginning of this class, to do slow breathing, connect your body with the seat, or feeling your feet on the ground, or gentle movements are very, very helpful for inviting the person to embody when maybe they feel a little bit disembodied or disassociated due to this sudden absence in their life. It's a big shift to the brain when the presence of someone is now absent. Offering warmth is a huge one. Warm tea, warm soups, water that is a nice temperature, like kind of like a warm water. Blankets, warm blankets, if appropriate. Grief is not only emotional, it's physiological. So people may feel shaky, numb, exhausted, or hyper-aroused. Simple grounding practices like warmth and hydration, good nutrition, working on stabilizing sleep is a big one, or just doing a few deep breaths can bring stability. You're not in the business of fixing anything here or making the grief go away or trying to, do something outside of your scope. Simply, you're just trying to help their system regulate enough to get through the next moment. Number 6, supporting their basic needs. So a lot of times when someone experiences a loss, you might have family, friends, community want to come together to bring that person food, or help them with certain types of household things that are difficult to do. Because grief often disrupts executive functioning, meaning all the things we take for granted today that we do very easily in our day-to-day is very difficult for some people who are experiencing grief. So helping them with chores like dishes, laundry, errands, bringing cooked foods that don't require a lot of effort just to heat it up. After a major loss, many people can't manage daily tasks. And this idea of executive functioning planning or thinking ahead of things, it just collapses under the weight of emotional shock. So by offering meals and helping with day-to-day things, even rides sometimes are helpful, helping with appointments and planning, chores, practical errands, you are giving this person an opportunity to de-stress by reducing their stress and helping them maintain that basic stabilization of daily needs. Number 7, holding space for emotional waves. So again, making room for whatever comes and being able to hold that, making room for the tears, the anger, the confusion, the numbness, that nothing is out of bounds, really, unless somebody is getting violent. That's different. You have to stop that. But in general, all these emotions I just named are very normal aspects of grief. So it gives us a chance to normalize their experience of all their emotional responses with regards to grief, because they're going to move through them, and to reassure them that there's no right way to grieve, right? There's no perfect way that it's going to go. It's going to go the way it goes for them. So, but it's unpredictable. There are waves that occur. There could be laughter. There could be silence. There could be rage. There could be just shutdown. So holding space means allowing these waves to rise and fall without judgment, not giving advice or trying to soothe them out of existence, right? Or try to distract. Let's go do this and let's go do that. And when the person just needs to rest. So your steadiness helps their emotional expression feel safe and normal. Number 8, be reliable. Follow through on what you offer. Check in gently and consistently. Thinking of you, no need to respond. You can send a little text. Consistency is a profound act of love for someone who is grieving. Many supporters show up very intensely the first month, maybe, and then disappear. So being reliable, checking in, keeping your word, giving some kind of basis for the person to rely on is, and become a steady presence in that time of instability is very helpful. Number 9, avoid minimizing or comparing. So offering things like look on the bright side of life, cliches, oh, it could be worse. Well, at least it wasn't this. Or if you just give advice unless it's asked, it's not exactly helpful. It kind of can shut down the person's emotional experience. So try never to compare their loss to someone else's. They're very different, and it's all individual as well. Losses are very different, and the individual experience is as well. Comparisons can create shame or isolation, even if they're well-intended. So instead, validate their unique grief experience without ranking or analyzing it. Number 10, is offering specific support, not generalities. This is really important, I think. So instead of let me know if you need anything, saying that, try to say something more definitive, like, I can drop off dinner on Thursday. Would that help? And they can accept or decline, but you give them something very specific. It's hard to make decisions. That goes back to the executive functioning. So general invitations, like, let me know if you need anything, put pressure on the grieving person to identify their needs and have to ask for things they don't even know they might want. And it's often very difficult for the grieving to ask. So it's up to us to show up. And the last thing on that is specific offers, like I just said, lighten their mental load and make the support feel accessible and real. Number 11, honor their pace. So grief has no calendar. Try to think what their life is like with the absence of this person and how that will be forever. It will be forever for them. So invite the opportunity to potentially support them months later down the line when most others have moved on. There's no logical timelines. There's no schedule. Some people need months. Some people need years. Most need both. Honoring their pace avoids pressure or expectations that might cause harm or isolation. So it's a beautiful thing to just show up consistently, little by little over the months. Number 12, we're almost done. Encourage ritual and meaning making, if welcome. Don't force these things on anyone. They might not be ready for a while to do something like this. But things like lighting a candle, creating an altar, sharing photos, or saying prayers. Blue Sky Friends has a very nice ceremony that you can learn and share with others. So you can ask us about that. Ask what feels comforting or meaningful for them. Rituals tend to help the psyche process what the mind cannot fully grasp. And they provide structure and symbolism in the midst of chaos and loss. This could be something small or more intentional, like storytelling or art versus lighting a stick of incense in their honor. And only offer when it feels aligned to them. Nothing should be forced in this process for someone who's grieving. It's not a requirement. So support that. Number 13, respect their boundaries. Don't push them to talk or process more than they want. Again, it goes back to the beginning where he's saying, you're just there to offer presence and not pressure. Give permission to them to rest or withdraw. And grief can make people withdraw, and they need solitude. Some people do better with the process when they are in solitude. Otherwise, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. So respecting their limits prevents your support from becoming another burden. Let them know it's okay to say no and that you won't take it personally. And then keep reaching out little by little. Help them stay connected, number 14. So a lot of times the grieving, they can't do much. They might not feel up to it. Some might feel they'd love to go out and do something. But even if they're a little more withdrawn, it's still nice to have an invitation. Invite them for a short, manageable walk or a connection time or a cup of tea. Something simple, something not too out there. And let them decide, what do you want to do? I'd rather just do this. And then if they decline, they should be able to decline without guilt. So we want to try to help them not feel isolated, and because that can intense the suffering that they're already experiencing. So gentle, low pressure invitations are very nice. Quiet visits. and such, and can remind them they still belong. They still have a family, they still have friends, they still have a sense of connection to humanity. And they don't have to navigate everything alone. And the key is offering without expectation. And the last point is remembering important dates, anniversaries, birthdays, and holidays may be especially tender. It's nice to remember those. I mark sometimes in my calendar, the lost date of someone, and it's or their birthday, and always remember to contact their loved one, on that day. If I have it in my calendar, I won't forget. So gentle messages on those days can be deeply supportive. Grief often resurfaces on these anniversaries, strongly on birthdays, holidays, and the dates of the loss. So reaching out on these days lets them know their loss is still remembered, honored, and held with them. I think this is especially helpful in the first couple of years. And it's wonderful to do if you continue to do it over the course of other years. It's very comforting to people remember that, and long after their loved ones have passed. And so this final piece here is a poem written by Rashani Rea. It's one of my most favorite that I have discovered in my grief journeys. And it goes like this. There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief which leads to joy, and a fragility out of whose depths emerges strength. There is a hollow space too vast for words, through which we pass with each loss, out of whose darkness we are sanctioned into being. There is a cry deeper than all sound, whose serrated edges cut the heart as we break open to the place inside which is unbreakable. Oops. And unbreakable and whole while learning to sing. Okay. The translators are still working on it. It's a long poem, but it's beautiful. A nice poem. So that's all for today. That's the class. And I just wanted to, I'll share this last slide that I created for letting you know about group grief support and personal grief support that I'm offering on behalf of Blue Sky Friends as a compassionate support services. These services are offered free of charge, and we welcome donations, of course. You can go to our website and donate anytime for any reason. But if you follow these QR codes, or you follow the URL there at the bottom of the page, you can join us for those things. I offer private sessions. That's the personal grief support. And then next Wednesday at 6 p.m., there will be a group grief support and discussion. So if you would like to come and maybe talk more about these ideas I presented today, and if you had questions, then you would be welcome to bring those to that session. It's an hour and 15 minutes AZ time starting next week. And it's every third Wednesday of the month. If you have any questions now, I'm happy to field that. I'm going to stop my share. Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't. So if in case you want to use the URL. But I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything that I'm missing in the chat. I can't see it. Oh,
There have just been some comments, but no questions.
just comments. Okay. I'm looking now.
Okay.
Seriously. Could you speak slower? I hope I slowed down enough. I think that was early on. Okay. Uh, be present as a real present. Stay there, still make the environment having better look. Yay. Reduce stresses for them. Very much. A big one. These are so nice. Thanks for contributing, everyone. And really thank you so much to the patient and glorious translators. I'm new to the platform with, working with a translator, so I'm very grateful for you. Thank you. Would it be possible to share presentation next time in advance? Oh, absolutely. Yes, Natasha. I'd be happy to do that. Very much. Yes. Okay. If there's no further questions, you're welcome to come bring them when you can think about them and come at 6 o'clock next Wednesday. Yes, Gail.
I just, so our upcoming, as you can hear from what Anjali Nicole shared with us, our upcoming programs, she will be meeting with group grief support on Wednesday, and then on Friday, Ellie will be presenting another class, which I don't know specifically what it's going to be yet. So we can all come surprised next Friday, same time, same place, and we hope to see you there. And thank you, Anjali.
Thank you too. Be well, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.